looks great. There's a trailer like just kind of auto playing on IMDb, and it looks fantastic.
It is dude. It is so much fun.
It's insane, right? Art the Clown.
I'm something different.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to another Modern Horror Movie Talk. I'm your host, Tyler Nichols, and Lance Velchek is joining us for another one. Lance, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, are we going to do an ASMR episode?
Sock movies. I'm doing good, buddy.
Crinkly papers. I'm always curious because I feel like you only ever see modern, like a recent horror film if you're going to come on this show. But we're not dealing with recent horror films. But have you seen anything recently?
I just caught up in a few things. I watched I guess for horror specifically, then I watched Renfield the other day. I watched Renfield and Dungeons and Dragons over the weekend.
Yeah, what'd you think of Renfield?
I did not like it at all. I thought Cage was good, but this is a good example of I fucking hate this type of movie. I do. Everything good's in the trailer. It's
not the Dracula recreation.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I did the review. I did the edit of the review. I saw, and I thought there's going to be more of that. It's like everything that I used in my footage is what they showed.
They spoiled that?
Yeah. And in one of the trailers, yeah.
God damn. Well, now this just goes back to my whole, I don't watch trailers.
No. I mean, let me just say this. This is, I was at the birth of this type of humor. I worked at the movie theater when a little independent one when like Anchorman came out. And I love Anchorman. The first one's amazing. But that type of humor where they kind of like talk and joke about the situation. Like, we're just going to kill people with vampire mode. And it's like, okay, that was cute fucking in 2005 or probably four. I don't like that this movie just kept winking at stuff. I did Wikipedia for the Circle and cocaine's powder. I'm like, Nicolas Cage was cool. And I also don't like when they turn somebody recently to like, and they have the same superpowers, but they're able to like use it just as well. Somebody's had it for a while. Same thing happened like 30 Days a Night, what got me annoyed, or I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I thought it was gonna be gorier, but it's like, well, all the gore's in the trailer. So I don't know. It's not my bag. I thought there's a chance it's gonna be fun, but I just kept getting annoyed. I don't like Awkwafina. She can't act. She didn't have emote anything. I don't know. I like the guy that plays I can't think of his name. He plays the same character and everything. He's
Nicholas Hoult. Oh, you're talking about John Raffio, Ben Schwartz.
Yes, from Parks and Recreation. Yeah.
Sonic.
Well, sure, but I grew up and I watched Parks first. So you know. Yeah. So that's the newest thing. I hate to be that grumpy guy, but it just wasn't for me.
Jesus Christ, Lance. Come on. You're the reason Renfield only made $20 million at the box office.
I mean, Cage is great, man, but maybe make a better movie.
Hey, like what you like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But now I really need a drink. So, Lance, what you drinking?
It is nice and summery out in. I'm on the coast of Vermont, of course. So I made myself a mojito in my Universal Studios back when it was good, not terrible now. Got a little mojito in my glass.
Very nice.
Yeah, I made it myself.
Did you really?
Yeah, you can see the mint.
Ooh, fancy. Honestly, after I almost got premix mojito because I kind of just wanted a mojito, but I didn't want to get all the elements.
It's a refreshing drink. I feel like this time of the year, man. Perfect.
Agreed. And speaking of refreshing drink, I decided to get a little mule action. So this is a vintage copper cup from like the 60s. My step grandfather just passed away, and so I got these cups, and so they're pretty dang cool, and I never have had any proper copper cup, so now I can do some proper Moscow Mule. I even made sure I didn't had the garnish on there for on camera, and I'll plop that bad boy in because I actually like lime, and that stuff doesn't just sit on. Screw that.
I support it, man. I used to frequent the Red Square in Chicago, and I always hit the sauna as I go up, and I just have nice borscht and a Moscow Mule, dude. I love Moscow Mule. So, hey, man, to your granddad.
Yeah. Cheers. And honestly, it's shocking of how good how the mule variety has like really exploded because there's a lot more.
Oh yeah, like whiskey mules and stuff.
Holland mule. There's a ton of different things. Where then it's like there's a lot of options. So even if you guys don't like don't like vodka. There's other things to try with essentially it's just ginger beer, lime, and then some kind of spirit.
Yeah. Whiskeys are good too, but I mean the Russian vodka is where it's at. Screw you, buddy.
All right, so we don't have any new releases this week. So instead, about a month ago, we did Netflix recommendations, but there's another service that is so much more catered to horror, and I am such a massive fan of this service, and so I thought we needed to spotlight it. Good old Shudder.
I love Shudder, so yes.
I was just about to ask, what's your opinion of Shudder?
I know there was a streaming horror service. Was it Chiller? Was that the one it was called before Shudder? I never got into that one personally. It wasn't really my bag. Shudder, I actually was not going to give a chance until they brought back Joe Bob, and that was actually what got me into it. But ever since then, besides the amazing and fantastic Joe Bob Riggs and Darcy the Mail Girl, I've realized that Shudder is at this point in existence the future of horror, and I think they highlight a lot of indie stuff, smaller stuff. They're a little more independent, even though if they're owned by AMC, of course. Yeah, man, I'm 100% in. I will always support them. I buy the year subscription every time it rolls around October. I feel like anytime I learn about new horror movies, it's honestly directly through Shudder. Hell, my top 20 or my top 10 of last year, I would say it was a half, maybe 2/3 Shudder.
Yeah, they're wonderful. And honestly, even getting on the business side of it, they're wonderful people that work there as well, because I deal with the publicists from Shudder and they are all so nice. And so it's just a company that I'm always rooting to succeed, because
I agree.
Yeah, good places in horror are, I don't know, I feel like there's just things that you have to nurture, and this is one of them. Shudder is just incredible. It has both creating new content and giving new voice, great spotlight to new voices, but also they have a kick-ass back catalog, because, I mean, a great example would be Possession, which they essentially did a re-release this summer that, I mean, we reviewed it like it was a brand new movie. A ton of sites did. It got so much coverage, and that is such an underrated film, where it's like just the fact that they're able to breathe new life. They're the shout factory of streaming services.
100%. I would not have seen. I know it was like only recently released to like the general public anyway, but I wouldn't have seen Possession if it wasn't for Shudder.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love Sam Neill, but I agree. I mean, that's kind of a movie that I would have gone over my head because I'm like, I don't have the time. But Shudder popped it on, and yeah, dude, something else. So
yeah, absolutely incredible. And so I think that this is a great way to be able to spotlight some films that are on Shudder. They do not have to be Shudder originals. They just have to be, on Shudder. So Lance, we're going to pick 3 each. What's your first pick?
Okay, I gave this a little bit of a look, and I want to highlight something that I always saw at the video store as a kid, always on VHS, and it's one of those movies that I didn't get to till probably later in life. To me, I always kind of, I don't know if I ever told you this, I kind of dictate. If I saw something before freshman year, that's like my childhood. High school was like sort of like when I was like independently just kind of seeking out things off of like Air on the Head and stuff like that. And then my 20s and 30s, I think, is kind of like catching up. So this movie, it's written, directed by Eric Red. It's one of the better werewolf movies outside of the Howling and American Werewolf in London and those kind of movies. It's called Bad Moon. Now, quick story. Obviously the Arrow, Mr. John Fallon is old friends with Eric Red, and I was doing an edit for mini like sort of spotlight for Mr. Eric Red, and he talked about a few of his movies and a few that I never saw. Mm-hmm. And he talked about Bad Moon. I was like, you know what? I've always meant to see that. I've always seen that cover. Fuck it. And so I'm doing the edit. And in the edit, I'm learning that the movie essentially is about a German shepherd that has to battle a werewolf. I'm like, holy shit, wait a second. Are you talking a 90s movie that features a dog as almost the main character that has to fight a werewolf? I go, so this is Homeward Bound meets The Howling. And so I went on, I think it was actually Shout Factory. I have it out of, hold on, do I have it? Hold on, I think I do. Here we go. And so I went and I bought the movie. And it is absolutely amazing. It is full of 90s charm. It's a little bit of schlock. It stars Michael Pare. Of course, he's in. I
was gonna say that's another John connection.
Yeah, because he was in his movie The Shelter, and I've never met him, but he seems like a real cool dude. Of course, he's in Streets of Fire with fucking Leaving and William Dafoe.
Great movie.
Absolutely, it's over there as well. So essentially, the setting is Pare is out in some sort of foreign country. I forget which one. And he sort of basically becomes a werewolf, right? But there's also like this like gratuitous sex scene. It's just all like top lit and sweaty. It's great. Comes back home to his sister. He's living with them, and then at night he turns to a werewolf, and starts like fucking things up around the neighborhood. And the dog is the only one that knows. The dog's like, I'm onto you. And so the movie is essentially from the dog's perspective. And at the end, they bet. Clearly, I think I don't know how well people would take it because the dog gets kind of tossed around a little. But it's a German Shepherd and it's a police dog, so a dog's tough. Everything about this is fun. It's cool. It has that hardcore 90s vibe. And again, the dog is the protagonist. Hooray is cool and sexy as the brother-in-law.
Looks like the lead girl is Mariel Hemingway.
Okay, so negatives. Mariel Hemingway. I don't know. In my opinion, I wasn't there. I don't know the circumstances. She seemed like she didn't want to be there. In fact, I was annoyed by her. The son and the dog were essentially the part of the movies that you're digging. And she's not really, she doesn't do much. She's just sort of the mom. It's like, get the dog in here. Just that. Yeah. Like, go away.
Yeah. I mean, she's also in Superman 4 and not great. So
yeah. So either way, I'm actually kind of being vague because I feel this is one of those movies that people don't know as much about. Again, the cover is probably recognizable, but I feel like this doesn't get the accolades it deserves. And again, Homeward Bound meets The Howling is how it's sold. So if you have not seen it, please do. German Shepherd faces off against a werewolf, and that's the entire movie. And Eric Red knocks out the park. I think it should be definitely on a Halloween watch every year. I would put this on there for sure.
I'm going to tell you right now, I have never seen Bad Moon. You've 100% convinced me because this sounds like fantastic schlock. Because there's a movie called Man's Best Friend with Lance Henriksen.
You're telling me about Lance Henriksen. Of course, it has what's her name from the Breakfast Club in it as well.
Yes, Ali Sheedy.
Yes. That's a great movie.
Yeah.
Walking with the little laser gun, yeah.
I've always grouped those two films together. And, I've seen this it must have been on Shudder even, and I skipped it. And so now I'm absolutely going to check it out because I had no idea that was what it was about. I thought it was about a werewolf based on the cover.
It is, but the dog knows.
I needed to be told about the German Shepherd. That's the thing.
Such a good boy. He's such a good boy, Yeah. All right, what about you, man? What's your Shudder pick number one?
So this is a movie that I absolutely love, and we are actually covering it on Joe Blow very soon. It is called Housebound. It is a horror comedy from New Zealand, and actually the writer and director of it, Gerard Johnstone, it did Megan. So obviously he's gone on to do some pretty big things, but I actually got to talk to him during the press for Megan, and I got to bring up Housebound and how much I love it. And he also seems to hold quite the special place for it because it sounds like he cut together the trailer. Sounds like he did a lot more since it was indie film than what you would usually have to do nowadays as a director in that role. And just the film itself is so it's like a warm blanket in terms of this girl. She gets arrested at the very beginning and then is forced to stay under house arrest with her parents, who she doesn't get along with. And she finds out that her mom thinks that the house is haunted. And so she has to deal with that. And there's a lot of wackiness that ensues, but it's comedic, but it's still more of a dark comedy than something that's more slapsticky. I would put it more in line with some of the older Taika Waititi stuff, like The Boy, I should say, and Hunt for the Wilder People, where it's just a little more subdued.
It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, and in this one too, they go for the haunted house. There's a great twist that I'm not going to spoil here, but then I think that it makes it very, very unique. And if anything, actually one of the movies that I would compare it to is kind of House, just in terms of the funness of it, because House is very supernatural and this is not supernatural, but it still has the same kind of just, I don't know, fun vibe to it. And
see that.
Yeah, I believe they did it on Joe Bob this past season, or it could have been last season, but I remember they did it on Joe Bob.
I think it was last year. if I'm correct, but that's the first time I saw it. And I might have been the second movie. I don't remember. I was making really strong drink during Joe Bob. So I really blend a lot together, but I had a really fun time. I don't remember as much as you, but I remember anything New Zealand. That's like my favorite place to be. Like that's where my ashes would be spread on Cathedral Cove because I've been there a couple times. So I like the Kiwi humor a lot. I dig that. It's very British humor. I grew up on British humor. And yeah, I remember thinking the same thing. Like they pull off the creepy kind of well, but it has again that sort of Kiwi sort of charm to it. I'd have to watch it again because it's been a while, and I obviously got to watch it sober. But I would agree. I would say absolutely. I had a fun time with it. So
I saw this back in 2015, and I feel like it is probably the movie that I have recommended the most to people, just because I can recommend it to people that don't like horror, even because it's just a good movie and it's not too terrifying to then turn someone off from those kinds of elements.
No, but I agree.
What do you got next for us?
I feel I'm going to fight about this. I'm going to go with Barbara Crampton's vampire role in Jacob's Wife.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you told me you hated one of my movies, and I'm guessing out of all three, this has to be the one.
Yes, this is the one. I really dislike this movie. I don't think this is the right way to get into it, but
it's your show. It's your show. I'd like you to lead.
Yeah, I came to this movie slightly later than other people, just in terms of, I think I watched it like 2 months after it released, and it's just, I love Barbara Crampton. I think that she's great in the movie. I had just an issue with some of the story beats, some of the logic choices, and it just really didn't sit with me well for the most part. I honestly haven't thought too hard about it, just because as soon as it ended, I was like, yep, didn't like that movie. I'll try and find my Letterboxd review of it just to give you an even, because I feel like I went pretty scathing on that. But otherwise, what did you like? What did you like about it? It's
an indie film, clearly a little more low budget. It's a character study, and I kind of dig the whole vibe of it's. Jacob's Wife is about essentially this like really mousy preacher's wife. Knows her place, doesn't do much, but yearns for more. I have a big thing about yearning for more. It's the same reason why like the Truman Show's a masterpiece. It's like this motherfucker just want to go to Fiji. I just want to go to New Zealand. I yearn for more. And I also think this gives Barbara Crampton essentially the biggest sandbox of her career to sort of play around with. I've always loved her. I mean, I think she is, let's be very fair. I mean, I grew up with Reanimator and From Beyond. I'm a brunette guy, but she is the blonde I've always loved. She is gorgeous.
Blonde with those big eyes.
She's a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
But I was glad to see this because this to me, like, she got to just stretch her legs. I like the sort of, it's kind of a goofy vampire comedy, but it's kind of twisted like a black drama about, a woman wanting to sort of grow and her husband's kind of a douchebag. And I kind of dig all these like plot beats. I do think it gets a little absurd, but I personally think the black comedy aspect of it kind of shelters that, I'll be honest, a little more. The flaws would be, I think, the budget makes some of the effects look kind of cheesy. So the main vampire, played by the woman who plays the nun, is like this Nosferatu lady, and it just, in terms of what they want from her, I think it's cool, but she looks cheap.
Yeah.
But that being said, it has Larry. I wrote his name down because I always want to say Fassbender. It's Fessenden.
Yeah.
I can't say that fucking word. Every time I say that guy, I like him. Yep. Everything that has been, there's just a charm to him. And he plays a sort of sleazy, douchey husband. And he leans into it. It's everything about this is kind of my vibe. It's funny. I guess I don't really like using the term feminist because it's like, I don't know what that means in terms of this. Who fucking knows? But I mean, it's definitely like pro her wanting to be independent. And I think it knocks it out of the park, man. I think the flaws are from the budget, but it doesn't really matter because I think the heart's there. And I dug it, man. And I feel the reason I'm bringing it up here is because besides, I think the horror side of this being Barbara Crampton fans, I don't think most people would even give this a watch. I just don't think it's on a lot of radars. Yeah. So I would like to re-highlight it and say that obviously Tyler disagrees, but if you get a chance, or a Barbara Crampton fan and want to see like a fun little vampire flick with some heart and soul, this is the one.
I'm going to read you my Letterboxd review just again, because I feel like then it just, I don't remember this crap.
I didn't make the movie, so you can't offend me.
There's a lot to like here, starting off strong. But unfortunately, it's mixed with a lot of mediocrity. It's too bad because I love Barbara Crampton. I was so glad to see her in a lead role. But I just hope for more from the story, especially after the first act was such fun. Note, I will never like the it's daytime, now it's randomly nighttime cliche that's all too common in horror.
Yeah.
So
that's fair, but I can't fight you on the daytime thing.
So again, it's just like minor things where it's just like then, and also I kept hearing, I feel like this has been a very common thread on the show. Whenever I hear a movie is so great, where then I just don't see it as so great, I'm passionate about the things that I dislike about it, even if I don't dislike the movie.
Yeah, we had a whole conversation on Evil Dead Rise, which is a good movie. It's a solid movie, one of the better movies of a mainstream horror. Yet our review came off so negative because everybody said it was amazing. And I was like, no, it's good. But if you want to dance, then let's dance. But I'm also kind of a contrarian, and not to a point where it's like I hate what's popular. I mean, I have a giant David Bowie painting in my living room. He's not known as this little independent artist nobody knows about. So it's like, well, I'm not that guy. I had a friend who didn't like the Beatles. I'm like, yeah.
Well, it's just like I would probably, if this was a non-horror show and we talked about the Across the Spider-Verse, I mean, my final rating for that is probably an 8 out of 10. I would almost nonstop be talking about the negatives because I'm like, everyone is talking about the positives. I'm gonna focus in on the stuff that people aren't talking about as much.
I do think we're in a weird time, and it's a blend of a lot of things. I think social media, social justice, tribalism, where if you love something, it's flawless, no matter where it lands. Yeah. And I'm like, not that nuance was fresh 10 years ago either, but I do feel like nuance now is not even accepted, and that bothers me because Evil Dead. And here's the thing, and I don't blame you. That's why I'm not going to fight you. It's like I actually really enjoyed Jacob's Wife. I saw it at a screener. I had no expectations, so I went in, with just an open mind. But I'm the kind of guy that if everybody starts, pardon my French, jerking something off, then I'm gonna be like, okay, well, let's see what's going on. But I was,
if I had seen it as a screener, I think I would have had, because I would have had no expectations. I think I would have enjoyed it more.
I like it. I'd say give it a chance. It's on Shudder. As long as you have it and you haven't seen it, Crampton kicks ass. And then, like I said, I always mess Larry Fessenden. Love that man. Always will. Always.
Speaking of Larry, there's a movie that came out just this past Friday on Shudder called Brooklyn 45, which Larry Fessenden is in, and I would recommend it. It's very, very interesting and it's very unique. I will just say that. I wouldn't even recommend watching the trailer. Just watch the film because it is very, very unique.
Hold on. I want to bring up one movie that he's in that I really liked. It's a weird one. Jug Face.
That is a really fucking weird movie.
So I remember, I think that's the one that made me realize this guy, I always tell you this, I can see an actor forever. And there's always one movie that sticks out. And then it's like, you ever hear a word for the first time, then you hear it every fucking day after. It's kind of like that stuff. Jug Face is where I kind of noticed that guy. And I like that movie. That's bizarre and weird and kind of walks an odd line. It has the girl from Blade Runner who was excommunicated from Hollywood for being a weirdo. A great movie. And just one that just to bring up that nobody ever talks about, Jug Face. I want to say nothing about it. Going blind. Larry kicks ass. It's a weird sort of.
Yeah, I haven't seen it since it came out. It is. Now I'm like, oh yeah, I need to rewatch this. It's been ages.
2013, man. So I saw it when it first came out. So yeah, I just to go back to that guy, I like him. So
yeah.
I don't know if it's on Shudder, but if it is, watch it.
Well, and this is awful. I did not plan this out well. I'm gonna go into a movie now that is not good that I want to give a spotlight to.
It's okay. What are we doing? Let me look it up.
Death Spa. It is. What? Yes, it is this movie that it is about a killer spa, aka so most places like a spa is pretty much like a workout place, like a gym, and so I learned of this movie through this podcast called How Did This Get Made?
Oh, with the guy from he was in a sketch comedy show.
Paul Scheer and Jason Mantzoukas and June Diane Raphael. It is my favorite podcast. I've been a loyal listener for 11 years at this point. It is, which is weird to say because it feels like podcasts are still new, but not anymore. And I'm telling you, it's absolutely terrible, but it is so much dumb fun. The titles are literally, it shows a big thing. It's like health spa. That then there's some other thing next. I can't remember what it says. It's like a word, some other word. Rudy's Health Spa. health spa, and then the lights go out where then health is gone, and then the R-U and Y are gone.
No,
So then it says
death spa. Wait, real quick, is it from 1988? Is that what I have pulled up?
Yes. Yes.
It looks great. There's a trailer like just kind of auto playing on IMDb, and it looks fantastic.
It is it is so much fun. It like from start to finish. It's essentially this guy cheats on his girlfriend. His girlfriend dies and possesses the gym equipment. So then the gym equipment just starts murdering people.
I have listen, you say it's bad. I can't tell why. It seems like my kind of joint, you know?
I just feel like I need to like add in a little caveat because I just like kind of went after Jacob's wife, and then then it goes into this is my recommendation.
Well, I mean, yeah, but let's be very fair. This is a certain type of like 80s horror movie that, I have I literally have the Blu-rays of like 20 full moon movies. I'm not saying they're great, but they're absolutely fantastic. You know what I'm saying? There's that weird line, and this looks like my kind of thing. I like spas. You know, a sauna. I hope there's a sauna kill, a hot tub kill. I don't know. It looks like there's a workout kill. You already sold me. I'm going to watch it this weekend.
It is so much fun where then the moment, because I had only seen a crappy YouTube copy. So then when Shudder brought it up, I was so happy. So it's like, yes, I get to watch this in HD.
HD, yeah.
But and that's the thing too, is, I mentioned how schlocky it is, but there's some interest, like they're using light, they're using light similar to what I have. So it has a cool look, and again, awful. But I will say too, watch Death Spa, then listen to the How Did This Get Made episode on Death Spa, and it is the perfect companion piece. And so, yeah, Death Spa, it's not going to be on anyone's, favorite of all time list, but watch it with a group of friends. It's a blast. So what's your third Shudder pick?
My friend, I'm ending one that I saw about a year or two ago. Absolutely loved it. Okay, quick history lesson for me. In high school is when the new French extreme subgenre kind of came to the American markets. And I've never been into, if I'm being honest, the sort of torture porn American subgenre. But for some reason, I liked the French doing it. There seemed to be a little more nihilism to it, a little more sadness. I'm a big fan of High Tension, even if the ending's stupid, I do not care. Them, Inside, Irreversible, a masterpiece which I'll never watch again. Martyr, same thing. It's a masterpiece which I don't know if I could ever experience. And so I was talking with my girlfriend. I was like, let's put on something horror related, but I don't know, a little more upbeat. And I saw a movie called Revenge on Shudder. And I was like, hey, babe, it's a revenge flick. A girl gets revenge against guys. And she's like, I don't know. I don't like stressful movies, but let's go for it. Honestly, one of the most intense movies I've seen in years. Essentially, long story short, this woman is dating this guy that's like cheating on his wife, and she's a mistress. And he takes this like remote location, I don't know, in the fucking desert of Australia. I have no idea where it is. A few days before, his friends come out for like a big hunting party. So she's there to like kind of fucking hang out. And then his friends come out, and then she leaves. The friends show up early. And so they all do drugs and dance and have a good time. And the girl's like a flirt, but just innocently flirting. But one of the guys takes it as more. And so when her sort of, I don't know what the mistress is for a guy, but like when her dude has to go out and do something, this other guy, his friend, tries to get laid. He's like, hey, you were done last night. And she's like, oh, no, that was just, for fun. And so he rapes her. And then he freaks out, and then he basically leaves her for dead. He like throws her off a cliff. It's not a spoiler because that's the entire movie. Mm-hmm. And so the movie is, she now gets revenge on these guys. It is a bit ethereal. It gets a little more cosmic in a way. It's definitely not as linear, but it is absolutely a new French extreme, because by the end of this movie, I'm talking, it's Evil Dead levels of buckets of blood. It is intense. It is emotionally sort of draining, grounded, yet like I said, like fantastical. Mm-hmm. One of the best movies I've seen in years. The funny thing is that I always hear in a lot of like essays about the male gaze, and I was kind of annoys me. I'm like, well, if a guy's making a movie, there's going to be a gaze. It's just natural. Yeah. But this has a female gaze. And I immediately realized it was directed by a female, because I didn't know when I put it on, which I don't care, but I realized that it was a lot of man asses, a lot of fucking men being like sexualized. And I was like, oh, it must be a girl
man
director.
Man ass is always a telltale sign.
And I looked into it, and that was cool. I was like, you know what? Awesome. Like, obviously, my girl's probably loving it. So I'm like, good for her. God bless.
Yeah, she gets some
Man,
buns.
asses all over. Yeah, fucking guys and all, have abs and shit. Like, God bless.
Go
God
for
bless. Rocking out. And the girl you never see anything. Like not a tits, not an ass, not a little bit
and
of
she
a bush.
is gorgeous.
She is absolutely beautiful. But acts fucking knocks it out of the park. I forget the name. It's a long name. Matilda and Ingrid Lutz. Long one. I mean, almost an Oscar-winning performance. It's just such a fucking knockout performance.
Yeah.
An intense movie. Just one of those, like, I don't know how often I'd watch it. Like, this is one I'd love to own, but I don't know how much I'd revisit it, because it's like, well, it's a rough hour to begin with before you start getting into it.
That's a great segue, because I own this movie.
How often have you watched it?
Yes, I love this movie, and I saw it like pretty much right when it came out on Shudder, and was lucky enough to find this I was just at Best Buy, $10, just randomly.
Wow.
Yeah. Which then, I mean, I don't think I've watched it since. Like you said, it's a hard rewatch, but it's a film that is so good that I knew I needed in my collection, because it's
I mean, let's talk about the cinematography. I mean, it sort of just it comes over the desert. It is.
Yeah, I was gonna say set in a desert. They have that. They have the pool too. So then you have that, because they've always pool? Michael Bay takes it to an extreme with his blues and oranges. But there's a reason that those are so appealing to the eye, because of their opposite color wheel. So then it has like that the shots of the blue and the almost orange from like the desert, which they have the contrast with the sky sometimes too. Oh
yeah. It's a saturated, and it's all outside, besides like a couple parts. The entire thing is just in that beating down sun. It is a beautiful looking movie, beautifully acted. I looked into the director and writer. It's Coraline. I don't even know, dude. I'm so sorry.
Coralie Fargett.
Okay, fair enough. Hasn't directed an episode of The Sandman and did some shorts.
Nice. I love The Sandman, was fantastic. So I'm all about that.
After what they did with Cowboy Bebop, I'll never trust anything again. So, but one of my favorite movies is, we just want to say, like, I'm jealous you bought it. I almost want to own it, but it's one of those, I don't know if I'd ever rewatch it, at least maybe in like 10 years. But I'm also big on supporting people. That's why I have like 8 copies of Waterworld. So who knows? But absolutely one of the best revenge flicks I've seen. The title's a little generic, I guess, would be my only complaint, but whatever, it gets the point done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of what the title is in French. I wish we had John.
That's a good point.
I wish we had John on the show. My French is not good enough to be able to just do instant recall.
But that's a good point, though. It's clearly, it's a translation. If not translation, it's just, Americans sometimes change titles. Trust me, Legend of the Drunken Master, was, I thought, the original. And then I realized that there's so Americans fuck it up too.
So would you like to know the title of the French version?
Yeah.
Revenge.
Okay, well, the French should get this shit together then and title better. Come on, guys. High Tension, that's a good one. Or Martyrs. At least give me something unique. But whatever. A great movie, recommended 100%. Yeah. And it's still on there now. So I'm glad it's still. I thought they took it off, but I looked the other day. I was like, cool, I want to recommend it to.
I believe it's Shudder original, so it shouldn't. I mean, nowadays, who the fuck knows, because of how we don't really seems like we don't understand what.
Yeah, everything's original. So was
Willow.
Willow
was Disney Plus original. Now it's well.
So I just have no faith in any streaming service. So I just assume at all times I'm getting screwed. Things are being taken away, or what is that show that went off the rails on HBO? Westworld, and that's original. That's gone. So who knows, man? Who knows?
Oh my God, this girl is Red Sonja. Remember how that Red Sonja game or movie that has been in production for ages? They've been trying to they've been trying to redo it forever. At one point, Rose McGowan was attached with Robert Rodriguez to direct. This was around Grindhouse time. It's been up and down, which it's in post-production now, and she's the lead. So good for her.
Yeah, I mean, she's done a lot of stuff. Nothing I know of. But either way, she's amazing. So
yeah, she's French. Matilda? So I mean, I don't know a ton of French films.
No.
I wish. Oh, she's in Final Cut. Yeah, she's killing it. I'm very, Final Cut, for those unaware, Final Cut is the remake of the Korean film, I believe.
Oh, and Joe Bob Briggs. He gave the amazing speech after that, right? Which is keep rolling.
Yep. Where it's the one cut of the dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the remake. So she's in that.
Yeah.
So I guess she is doing. It's good for her. I'm happy because she's phenomenal. But
Agreed.
Okay, we went through that. The final one on the list is actually, this was my second favorite horror movie of last year. I absolutely loved it, and I don't hear nearly enough about this film. Sissy. This film is absolutely phenomenal, and it is one that I think that you pretty much need to go in knowing as little as possible. I think that we talked before about how, or was it in the summer movie preview episode, we talked about how as soon as we're on board for a film to just like shut off the trailer, I would recommend for this. If you want to even get a kind of a glimpse, start the trailer, but stop it as soon as you're like, yep, cool, this looks great, because it's so unique. It hits really hard, and the performances are phenomenal. Aisha D as Sissy is just so good, and I think that it's a tough role. I don't want to get into it, because I think that one of the reasons it left such a big impact on me is because of how unexpected so many things were. So I don't want to spoil some of that stuff. But did you see Sissy?
I didn't. I think I watched the trailer. I think the vibe I got with it was this girl gets fucked over by her friends, or like there's a bully thing, and like that always stresses me out. I was lucky enough to never really get bullied. You know, I mean, everybody gets bullied a little, but like, you know, I wasn't the guy that got bullied a lot. But I don't like people fucking for the people. That's like a big thing. That's why I own a bunch of legal things that I'm allowed to own, because I think that people that are bullies should be put down. And so movies like this, it seems like it would stress me out. But I don't know. You put it on your top 10 of 2022, if I'm correct.
Yes, it was number 2, right behind Scream 5. I loved it. Absolutely. Yeah, I know you.
Hey man, I'll give anything or take a little thing. But no, I mean, I think the vibe looks good on this. I just don't know if it's going to stress me out. But you also say it's not what I'm expecting. So you know, I guess if I'm in the mood to just risk being depressed, I might pop this bad boy on. I
think I know you pretty well, Lance. I don't think this is a depression. I think this is revenge fantasy type stuff.
Oh, I like revenge fantasies.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. But it's more revenge fantasy type stuff than, I don't know, sad and depressing. I tried to go for some more upbeat stuff with this. Most of my picks are all stuff that I'm like just desperate for people to see, because I think they're just such either fun or just good movies. I mean,
maybe we should have had a conversation before we recorded, so I didn't recommend a fucking rape revenge movie. You know, I start off with a German Shepherd fighting a werewolf, and I'm like, oh, this girl gets raped for like an hour and a half, and then she slowly. Okay, you know what? I'm down. You know, this is the second time you've mentioned Sissy. How about this? Give me 10 days. Okay,
10 days. I'm taking you to court otherwise.
Man, my word! If I give a date. In fact, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. It's noted, my friend.
Perfect. And I mean, you're going to have to let me know what you think of it, because I don't know. I think you're going to enjoy it. And also, for anyone that is watching this, that's like, oh, I can't believe they didn't recommend this, or can't believe they didn't recommend that. Let us know in the comments, because maybe we didn't see it. Maybe we didn't know about it. And I mean, we're horror fans just like you. We want to see this kind of stuff. We want to be able to increase the number of good films that we're able to see. And Shudder has so many great selections that sometimes stuff just gets lost.
I mean, in all fairness, I should say this. There's a lot. I had a probably list of 20 movies to recommend. I just felt like these 3 are just a good random. I mean, we could do this for the rest of the time. I would love to just give. You know, I should also say I'm not getting paid by Shudder. I don't make any money off of them. And if you're like, oh, you're shills, like, dude, if you knew this industry, nobody gets paid for shit. I like Shudder. I like what they do. And, you know, the originals and the non-originals. I just think they have a good selection in terms of being a streaming service. I mean, go look at Netflix, go look at Hulu. I mean, it's part of my French is dog shit. This is where it's at. So when you say stuff like Sissy, I saw the trailer. I'm gonna watch it now. So
yep, and there's just so much stuff. There's the fact that Shudder supports horror so much these days is enough for me. And so
gave Joe Bob Briggs a second life, and for that I will be thankful forever.
I mean, they essentially gave him retirement. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, he is a comfortable retirement, I should say. Like, he's killing it these days. So yeah,
I was raised in Monster Vision. That's my generation. I know people older than me was raised on the movie channel. So yeah, anything he does, and Shudder brought people like me in because of him, and you know, it's like he brought me in because of Joe Bob Briggs, but I'm going to stay because of Shudder. So you got a loyal customer.
Absolutely. And I hopefully maybe one day we'll get to the point where we can give like a use the promo code Joe Blow on Shudder to maybe
I won't be making any money off it, but somebody will, and good for them, you know.
Yeah, maybe we'll be able to get to that point if we talk some Shudder up enough. But
and really, if just give me booze. I want a sponsor. Give me like a rum sponsor. I want Santa Teresa or Diplomatico. Give me a nice Venezuelan rum sponsor. I'll pitch whatever you want.
No,
here's to buy the rum, please. You know,
Dos Hombres. I want some Dos Hombres. The mezcal that Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul do. Oh,
I'm not a mezcal guy, but God bless. I'm way too angry on that kind of stuff.
Ah, come on. Everyone needs a little anger every once in a while.
I don't know. I just said I own a bunch of things that I probably shouldn't be angry around, so I'm going to try to be as relaxed as possible.
That is true. Well, thank you so much for joining me this week, Lance. I now have a movie to watch, and you do as well. I got to watch Bad Moon. You got to watch Sissy. So
10 days, sir.
We got plenty to do. And so next week on the show, Travis Hobson will be joining me for the first time to discuss The Blackening. So that should be interesting. I don't really know what to expect from that movie. So again, no clue, but we'll see. Thank you again, Lance, for joining me, and we will see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you, buddy.